The fake news media like CNN, MSDNC, which is sometimes referred to as MSNBC, the Washington Compost, which is sometimes referred to as the Washington Post.
The Washington Compost. That was a good one. That was a good one. That's a new one. I haven't heard him use that. I haven't heard him use that. Maybe he has before. That was pretty good. The Washington Compost. Old Chucky Boy Schumer was out giving a speech. Looks like he is in some kind of industrial plant, a factory of some sorts.
For a long time now, this project has been my passion. It's a labor of love. And after many false starts and obstacles placed in our way, Gateway is full speed ahead. We all remember Governor Christie abruptly pulling the plug on the first iteration of Gateway, one of the worst decisions that any governor on either side of the Hudson has made. As soon as
Donald Trump
took office, he set about sabotaging Gateway by halting all administrative approvals on completely bogus grounds. He said he wouldn't even negotiate on Gateway until there was money to build his wall.
The Gateway program is a planned phased expansion and renovation of the Northeast Corridor rail line between Newark, New Jersey and New York City. The right-of-way runs between Newark Penn Station and New York Penn Station.
What I couldn't have anticipated then is that the person who would replace Trump would happen to be the best possible person anywhere to move Gateway forward, Mr. Amtrak himself, Joe Biden.
You were such a horrendous public speaker.
For 4 years, the former president was shoveling you-know-what. And now we're going to put real shovels in the ground, wielded by real American workers.
Oh my God, that was so cringe. You know, if you had said the former president was shoveling BS, you might have even got an applause or a laugh there. But you had to stop and be like, you know what? That reminded me of that time in WWE where they made Roman Reigns say suffering succotash. He and Biden are good friends, Helda Rose. Also, good evening. Chucky Schumer and Biden been friends for fucking, what, 30, 40 years now.
For 4 years, the former president was shoveling you-know-what. And now we're going to put real shovels.
Seriously, you might have gotten applause, you might have gotten laughter if you had just said BS. The former president was shoveling BS. Man, hire me for your communications department. I need work, and you guys suck.
In the ground, wielded by real American workers. That's the basic contrast between this presidency and the last.
He was so proud of himself.
Versus experienced leadership. Schoolyard bullying versus building consensus. Personal grievances.
You know all about schoolyard. You just used the schoolyard insult, motherfucker.
Getting things done.
We've got some good public speakers, and usually they are good public speakers because it takes that in order to be elected. But we live in a weird time now. We live in a very weird time. We're not having Lincoln Douglas debates anymore. Oh, shit. Who's a good public speaker right now? Katie Porter does a good job. Ilhan Omar is good. I like Rashida Tlaib. She does a good job speaking. Bernie's a fantastic public speaker. I can't believe when we were watching that Jeffrey speech when we were doing the swearing in of Congress, I didn't get that he was doing the ABCs. I didn't get that until afterwards. But that's also like Cody Rhodes did the Shattered Dreams during the Royal Rumble on Sunday, and it was right then and there that I realized Shattered Dreams is a shot at the American Dream Dusty Rhodes that the WWF was taking, back in 94 when Goldust debuted. Dustin was Dusty's son, and Dustin and Dusty were on the outs at that time, and WWF was constantly taking shots at Dusty Rhodes, like their wrestler Virgil. Virgil is Dusty Rhodes' real name. But it wasn't until 2023 that I realized that the move and the thing Shattered Dreams was also a veiled shot at Dusty Rhodes. A fucking joke from 1994 that I just got. And I sent that to my friend in a message. Because we were messaging each other back and forth while watching the Rumble. And I sent it to him as a message, and he's like, mind blown. Because Dusty Rhodes was the American Dream. So when Goldust debuted in the WWF, it was called Shattered Dreams Productions. Because he was like this Hollywood glam cross-dresser character. It was like I was today years old when I realized that. Fucking how long ago was that? 94? That was almost 28.
You take your 33 and a third chance minus my 25% chance, and you
I'm
got
horrible
an
at math.
chance of winning.
Speaking of crazy people, were we talking about crazy people? I don't even fucking know. Speaking of politicians that are shit-ass public speakers.
The fake news media like CNN, MSDNC, which is sometimes referred to as MSNBC, the Washington Compost, which is sometimes referred to as the Washington Post.
The Washington Compost. That was a good one. That was a good one. That's a new one. I haven't heard him use that. I haven't heard him use that. Maybe he has before. That was pretty good. The Washington Compost. I'll give him props when he does well. Come on.
Compost, which is sometimes referred to as the Washington Post, and the failing New York Times are doing really, really badly and closing up shop all over the place. CNN is shuttering its longtime headquarters building, and the money-losing Washington Post is being peddled all over.
Washington Compost.
See whether or not somebody wants to buy it. In the meantime, they're firing massive numbers of people.
Wait, I don't think that's true. I do not think that Jeff Bezos is looking to sell the Washington Compost, which is all I'm ever going to call it from now on.
Not reporting with...
Compost is actually good and useful, exactly.
The future of the fake news looks bleak, and that's a positive thing. But beware the Marxists and communists, which are well represented in our government. Many of them got there by...
Are they?
News, so we have to stop it. We have to get back to normal. Thank you.
Guys, this is a 3.5-minute video. Oh, there's more. There's more. This is multiple videos at once.
I recently read an interesting headline in the...
You didn't read shit. I don't even know that you can read, motherfucker. It doesn't say "Make America Great Again" again. That's what I was hoping for. It should be "Make America Great Again" again. Motherfucker, hire me. I need work. I need work, motherfuckers. Hire me. I'm a communications expert. Make America great again, again.
I recently read an interesting headline.
No, you did.
In the paper that said, quote, the Washington Compost, which is the Washington Post, hit with Biden-era layoffs as subscriptions plummet, end of quote. If they'd cover the news fairly, accurately, with a passion for our country, this wouldn't be happening to the Washington Post. People don't want fake news. Thank you very much.
I like how he didn't even give him enough padding there. He starts turning his head as it's fading out. Do you guys see that?
Don't want fake news. Thank you very much.
Like, dude, pause for 5 seconds so we can do the fade out. Again.
After many years, CNN is closing their Atlanta headquarters. It's very simple. No ratings equal no money. They got no money because they have no ratings.
It does kind of look like a deep fake, doesn't it?
Wise to it. Likewise, speaking of fake news, MSDNC, sometimes referred to as MSNBC, is in very big ratings trouble. And be careful, Fox News, don't go that way. They've got failed politician Paul Ryan and Rhino Karl Rove, a total loser, running things. Please be careful, Fox News.
Wait. Karl Rove's on Fox News, isn't he? Did Karl Rove get hired at CNN? I don't even know. Paul Ryan is at CNN, I do believe. I don't think he runs things. I think he's just a fucking talking head that they bring on.
The fake news says I'm not campaigning very hard. I say they are stupid and corrupt because the election's a long ways away, almost 2 years. The beauty is 2 years is not...
Yes, Mox, thank you for reminding me. Turd Blossom was George W. Bush's nickname for Karl Rove.
When you think of 4, too bad it couldn't have happened a lot sooner, isn't it? But do not fear. Many giant rallies and other events are coming up very soon. It will all be wild and exciting. We're going to bring our country back. We will save our country from doom and make America great again. And you are going to be the biggest part of it. Thank you very much.
Wild rallies are coming back. Now, why might Trump have been anxious to release this video? And what was he talking about when he was talking about the fake news reporting on him? I got some news for you. Donald Trump's campaign is faltering. It ain't doing worth a shit. He's having trouble raising money. And he needed to make some headlines. And that's why he came out and released those videos playing the hits. Trying to drum up drama with his base again.
Shared exclusively with NBC News show former President Trump's 2024 campaign getting off to an underwhelming start financially. In other words, he's kind of strapped for campaign cash. Mr. Trump raising $9.5 million in the last 6 weeks of 2022, which is $2 million less than he raised in the 6 weeks before his launch. That relatively weak return now triggering kind of a revamp or a rethink inside the Trump campaign.
What a picture. That's a screenshot right there.
For what's expected to be a competitive Republican primary in the next year. NBC News senior politics reporter John Allen helped break this exclusive story, along with our colleague Mark Caputo. So, John, there's an argument to be made that and there was the argument that was being made before Trump announced his campaign so soon after the midterms that this could be, in fact, problematic here. Talk about the timing. Talk about what Team Trump plans to do about this.
Sure, absolutely. And if you look inside these numbers, the 9.5 million, Hallie, there are about 300,000 donors that he got money from. 99.48% of those donors are under that $200.
Well, the grift was good in 2016.
About 3,000 of his donors are people giving $200 or more. So he's still got that small dollar fundraising base. But in terms of the time of this announcement, Donald Trump was anxious to announce, super anxious to announce. He wanted to do it as early as July. He ended up getting convinced not to do it before the midterms. And then as a result, when he anxiously got out and announced the campaign right after the midterms, he's doing so in kind of a fundraising doldrums. For all campaigns, they know that immediately after an election, it's harder to raise money. In addition to that, Mr. Trump has been banned from Facebook since January 6th.
He will be back shortly.
January 7th, but basically since inciting the riot at the Capitol. So he has not had that platform to use to do fundraising since he launched the campaign. But he's going to get that back. Facebook is going to allow him back. So that'll be helpful to him. And of course, he is starting to build out the fundraising operation, a clear acknowledgement that it's not going the way he would like. He's hired a new digital vendor to do that fundraising in addition to the one that he already had. We're probably going to see something like a traditional big money structure from his campaign as well, where you have bundlers that get checks at big fundraising events.
So you've laid out some of the reasons why it's believed that he could, in fact, bolster some of his campaign cash here. What about his potential Republican rivals here, right? Because
man, Mox, do you want to know who is badgering me right now? Adam fucking Schiff. Boy, are you barking up the wrong tree, Schiffy boy. And I have marked him as spam multiple times now. And that motherfucker just keeps emailing me. No, Adam Schiff.
Raising too. The former president likely has the, of course, biggest name recognition out of any of them in the mix so far.
Yeah, and what a lot of these other folks are going to do is go to big donors. For instance, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, all signs are that he's certainly thinking about running for president and probably going to get into the race.
I have my doubts about DeSantis.
He just ran a race in Florida that he won by 20 points. Donors all over the country were given to that race. This is somebody who has the capacity to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. There are several other candidates that might get in the race. Mike Pence, the former vice president, for example, who have longtime donors to their campaign. So, you can expect that this is going to be an expensive race for the Republican primary, and it's just starting out. But, Trump has seen some donor fatigue. The guy hits his donors with fundraising requests day in and day out, and he's going to
like 20 times a day.
Rejuvenated.
Like David Bissing in the Eye of Goliath. Oh. Are you comparing me and Dan Crenshaw to David and Goliath? Gonna tell you about Trump getting hit with a new lawsuit. Legal troubles abound for the former president. I've said many times, I do not believe he will be a factor in the Republican primary because I believe he will be too encumbered by legal entanglements. And here's another one that got added on today.
News at 7 exclusive. A judge has handed down one of the largest prison sentences to date, stemming from the
well, this isn't about Trump, but okay, good.
2 men pled guilty in connection to the assault on Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick. One of them bought pepper spray, the other one used it. Officer Sicknick collapsed just a few hours after being attacked, and he died the next day. Sandra Garza was Officer Sicknick's longtime partner. She's joining us live from her home in Virginia. So, Sandra, this is the first media interview that you've granted since that sentencing was handed down. I know you were there.
Yeah, the lawsuit I was referring to about Trump is in regards to Officer Sicknick. So we're going to get there with this piece.
Joining me. So one of the defendants was sentenced to 6 years, 8 months. The other got time served. He had done about 5 months in jail. What do you think of those sentences? Were they fair? Should they have been longer?
After speaking to the 2 prosecutors, Mr. Light and Mr. Scarpelli, I feel like, yes, it was fair for me. The only thing that bothered me greatly was Mr. Tanos was turning around frequently and smiling and chuckling towards me and Officer Edwards.
Well, then he clearly had no remorse for his actions.
Or if that was deliberate, but that was disturbing to me. And in talking to the prosecutors, they said really that there was nothing else more that they could really ask for as far as jail time went for him. So this is just my opinion, of course. I'm not speaking on behalf of the family. But I do feel that it was fair and appropriate.
So the medical examiner ruled that Brian died of natural causes. Has anyone been able to explain to you, to your satisfaction, how a healthy and able-bodied law enforcement officer...
Also, she was introduced as his partner. Did the news mean his police partner? Because we saw a picture of them together before they brought her on. That made me believe that when he said partner, he meant romantic partner. Did anyone else catch that? But she mentioned the family. If you're his partner, you are his family, aren't you?
Sir, takes a shot of pepper spray to the face and then later dies of natural causes. And I asked that question because had that not been the cause of death, had it been something directly connected to the pepper spray, these defendants could have got a lot more time behind bars.
Yes, that's correct. Unfortunately, just due to the stress of that day, the cumulative effect of everything that went on, that's ultimately what caused Brian's death. And that's
it looks like a couple's photo.
Proceeded forward with this lawsuit. Trump and the 2 defendants made the decision for Brian and ending his life that day. Had he been able to not have the January 6th riot happen,
He's got a Trumpy bear.
That there's a strong possibility he.
This was the cop that was a Trump supporter, wasn't it? Because one of them was a Trump supporter. One of them that died was a Trump supporter beforehand. And that his family guessed that he would have changed his mind afterward. That's a Trump bear, a Trumpy bear.
Proceeded forward with this lawsuit. Trump and the two defendants made the decision for Brian and ending his life that day. Had he been able to not have the January 6th riot happen, I believe very strongly that there's a strong possibility he would still be here today.
You know, there have been,
but they took that choice from him.
Yeah, there have been so many efforts to try and hold former President Trump directly accountable for what happened on January 6th, and none of them have been able to take hold to the...
And, like, dude cast his vote for Trump in 2016. Your family will be suing that dude for your wrongful death over a possible insurrection. Who could have ever seen that coming, right?
At this point, why do you think that this suit will be different?
Well, I don't know that it'll be different, but certainly Donald Trump is my #1 target. And I knew that there wasn't really much being else done that I could see, at least with the Department of Justice. And I realized that justice does move very slowly, but I felt that this was one avenue that I could go to hold him accountable for what happened to Brian.
Unfortunately, Trump ain't got no money.
It's despicable that he's gotten away with so much, and even now is running for president again. I just cannot believe that, and that's really why I wanted to go forward with this lawsuit.
You know, Sandra, last
the audacity.
This event and Brian's passing has twisted your life upside down. And talk about all the things that you've had to go through here just within the past 2 years.
Oh, it's been awful. Just the stress of his death, period, has been very, very stressful. It's caused me a lot of grief. I'm still grieving. The grieving process really never ends.
The caucasity, indeed.
It just changes.
Justice for the door.
I've dealt with depression, certainly trying to acclimate back into a regular work routine. I had to take several months off for my last job. It's changed everything in my life. Going public, having people say terrible things about me online. Offline, I've gotten nasty letters in the mail and things like that. It's changed my life completely. So my life will never be what it was prior to Brian's death. And of course, the worst part is losing him because he was such a wonderful person. Well, so yes, it's changed my life dramatically.
We're grateful that you've been able to share your story with us, Sandra Garza. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
I'm sorry that you had to share your story with them. You shouldn't have that story to tell. I'm still in disbelief that the man was able to win the presidency in 2016. I even said it in 2016. Maybe even as early as 2015. If he was to win, he wouldn't leave office willingly. I knew it. I knew it then. So I don't know how anybody can claim ignorance that he would have done exactly what he did. We knew who he was. When people tell you who they are, believe them. Believe them. He's always been a monster and a laughingstock. God damn. Here's an interesting piece of video. I don't know how long of it we will get through, how much of it we'll get through. Video from Trump's deposition. Shelley, good evening. Good evening. Damn right he lost the popular vote twice. And people, right-wingers will still say, oh, he's the most popular president ever. No, he wasn't. You stupid fuck. Here is video that has been released today from the New York Attorney General's office of Trump's deposition back in November. Now, I say don't know how much of this we'll watch just because I believe he just pleads the fifth over and over again. But this is interesting.
CBS News has obtained the video of former President Donald Trump's deposition with New York Attorney General Letitia.
I picked this instead of the raw video.
Shows the former president sitting for a deposition last August during a civil.
I think I said November. I'm sorry, August.
It began with some quick back and forth, but once the questions turned to Trump's finances, the former president invoked the Fifth Amendment, which he continued to do for nearly 4 hours.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment? I was asking that question. Now I know the answer to that question. When your family, your company, and all the people in your orbit have become the targets of an
you ain't innocent, son.
motivated witch hunt, supported by lawyers, prosecutors, and
you were right when you said, like, what's the reason to take the fifth if you're innocent? Because the fifth is the right to no self-incrimination. The state has to prove their case against you. You're taking the fifth as to not incriminate yourself, sir. You aren't innocent.
even the fake news media. You really have no choice. Anyone in my position not taking the Fifth Amendment would be a fool, an absolute fool.
Yeah, because you're guilty as fuck.
Cates, who's been following this story for us from the beginning, and CBS News legal contributor and former Manhattan prosecutor Rebecca Royfee to help us understand exactly everything that we are seeing here. So, Graham, we want to start with you. This deposition was last summer. Tell us why the video is just being released now, and help our viewers really understand the case that this is connected to and how it fits into the broader picture.
This is from the New York Attorney General's civil fraud probe against the Trump Organization, Donald Trump, and 3 of his children, among others. And it's seeking $250 million and a bunch of sanctions that put together are an end to the company's business in New York. In the short term, at least. And we got this because as part of that proceeding, they filed as an exhibit some portions of transcript from Donald Trump's deposition, and we asked for the corresponding video. There was some back and forth as part of our Freedom of Information law request, but ultimately we got it this morning. And first of all, what it shows is his impression of the investigation, which is that he said, and we have some video we want to show you, he said it's unfair.
In her AG speech, she promised to, quote, shine a bright light into every dark corner of Trump's real estate holdings. Shortly thereafter, she vowed to, quote, use every area of the law to investigate President Trump and his business transactions, and that of his family as well.
Yeah, because you're a slimy motherfucker.
She knows nothing about us. This is when she knew absolutely nothing about us. It was very unfair.
You were the president.
This whole thing is very unfair.
You're the Attorney General of the state where your business is.
But on the other side are the New York Attorney General herself, Letitia James, as well as the lead prosecutor on that case, Kevin Wallace. And so this was not him giving a campaign speech. I mean, he was right there across the table from her, saying what he thought of her office's investigation there.
And I mean, I want to talk about the significance of this. Can you talk to us about just how remarkable it is to see a former president who's announced his candidacy for, that he plans to run in 2024 being deposed? How rare, how significant is this?
Yeah, I think that's why we were interested in getting the video. He's a former president. He's running for president, and this is a massive fraud investigation.
Because he's a massive fraud.
Larger fraud undertakings by the New York Attorney General's office in their history. And here he is. He's invoking the Fifth Amendment hundreds of times, to the point where after the first couple of times where he reads a couple of lines saying, I'm not answering the question, they say, to save time, just say same answer from here on out. And so much of the video is he's being shown a document, being asked a question, and then he says same answer.
Something
over
like
and over
400
and over
times or so, I think.
More than that.
I read that you
More than that.
And I want to bring Rebecca in to discuss. Rebecca, is there any significance to President Trump invoking his Fifth Amendment rights? Was that a surprise at all?
A great deal of significance and not so much of a surprise. I think the significance here is twofold. One is that it is essentially saying that answers to his question could incriminate him in a criminal case. And we know there's that parallel investigation going on in the Manhattan DA's case. And so he is suggesting, now he tries to backtrack and say, well, it's just because it's unfair, but there is, at least that's the implication that the answers to those questions could implicate him in that criminal case.
Yes.
The second important aspect of this is because this is a deposition in a civil case, not in a criminal case. The fact that he has invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege can be used against him. And by that, I mean the jury can infer from the fact that he refused to answer these questions that his answers would be undermining his position in that civil case. And so, that is a leg up for her proceeding in October that she'll be able to use, not the substance because he didn't say anything, but the fact that he invoked the Fifth Amendment privilege.
I feel like for people who are already have a position on this issue, the release of this video is just going to make them further entrenched in whatever category they're in. For Trump supporters, they're going to be feeling like his statement in the beginning about how this is a witch hunt. It all feeds into the same narrative for people who believe that he is guilty. Yeah. They're going to look at
he is guilty.
Pled the Fifth and think that there's something in there. I think
there is, because
Rebecca, it's interesting too that only a small section of this nearly 4-hour deposition is now available, and for people who feel like there's something to hide, they're going to wonder if in the other parts of it that there's something more that supports what they're saying. Why is only a small section of this deposition available?
Well, depositions don't automatically become public in lawsuits. They only become public when they become a part of a court filing. So in this case, transcripts were made public several months ago as part of the court filings in the Attorney General's case. And then subsequently, if the public through reporters or journalists want to obtain the video background, then that should be made available, but only that part that corresponds with the pieces of the deposition that have become public. So I don't really think that it would be a proper inference to think that there's something nefarious going on about, what's in these pieces that haven't been made public. They are largely probably just less relevant to the case at hand.
All right. We have a lot more to dig in on this. Obviously, this is just being released. We'll continue to show you more video and bring you updates throughout the day. Graham, Kate?
Yeah, there was a 30-minute section that was just a raw video. I'm glad I grabbed the reporting as opposed to the 30 minutes of just same answer, same answer. Ain't done with Trump yet. Jamie Raskin, Representative Jamie Raskin seeks Trump and Pence visitor information from Secret Service. The Ranking Oversight Committee Democrat said his demands is similar to recent requests by the panel's Republican chairman, James Comer, related to classified documents discovered at President Joe Biden's home in Delaware. Yeah, you'll never see Trump look at Mike Pence like that again. That romance is over. Representative Jamie Raskin, the ranking Democrat on the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, is demanding the Secret Service provide information about visitors to former President Donald Trump's and Vice President Mike Pence's personal residences since leaving office in light of the mishandling of sensitive, highly classified documents. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
Come on, man.
I think that's what this, that idiom means. In a letter dated Tuesday to the agency's director, Kimberly Cheadle, Raskin of Maryland cites classified records found at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida last year and recent reports of classified documents found at Pence's Indiana home. Given that the U.S. Secret Service provided protection for Mr. Trump and Mr. Pence during the time they stored classified materials at their respective residencies, the committee is seeking information from your agency regarding who had access to former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago club and former Vice President Pence's personal residence since leaving office. Raskin has given a Valentine's Day deadline for the Secret Service to provide all documents and communications related to visitor information at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and Pence's home in Carmel, Indiana.